This is part 4 of my little series about the Adidas Pro 4. And let's just go straight to where we left off part 3. The outsole. As I said in the previous video, the most eye-catching feature of this shoe. Here you can see a comparison with the Pro 3, but you have to remember that it is almost 2 years since it was released. Which I also mentioned in part 3. So it's probably a bit better to make a comparison with the Evo 1. Although from the pictures you can see it has become somewhat wider compared to Pro 3, but you should always take these pictures with a grain of salt. But the first thought I had when I saw the Pro 4 outsole was that almost no midsole material was exposed the places you land compared to many other super shoes. Plus the width of them. So the question is, why have they chosen to do it? Is it to create better grip, or is it because they use a different midsole material that is more vulnerable than Lightstrike Pro? I think it's to create a better grip. And regarding this, right here there is a little advertisement for one of the next videos that will appear on my little channel. I really pushed this shoe to the limit, and not least my old body. Especially the last test I did. Which I have of course repeated several times to make sure my data is correct. And if you'd like to see which shoe won based on the time and heart rate, so watch it in one of my next videos. But what you can see, even after 1100 kilometers, it still has good grip. Adidas Continental plus Lightstrike Pro are impressively durable. So if the new Pro 4 is a bit like other Lightstrike Pro models apart from Evo 1, then durability will probably not be a problem. Now the question is, just as I have talked about in my previous videos, is it a fake shoe or a real one? But one thing we know for sure with almost 100% certainty is that this shoe is real, especially if you look at who is in the picture. And as you can see, it is not the same shoe. Of course both shoes may be prototypes, but the one on the right definitely comes from Adidas. Here is perhaps a slightly crazy thought. Maybe this shoe is fake, but at the same time is real. You might be thinking, what is he talking about? But let me try to explain what I mean. A very long time ago, before it was released, I saw some picture of a pair of New Balance Elite V4 in many colors. Someone had succeeded in copying a shoe that hadn't been released yet. And then try to look here. This Adidas Ultraboost 24 has arrived in the last few days on various sites that say it maybe will be released soon. It has been many months since I have seen that shoe. Or a shoe that is incredibly similar to it. And you can order it under a different name in many different colors. Of course, I can't say whether it's real that it will be released soon, or we get to see this shoe in a real version. But I can say that it has already been copied. And if they have been able to do it before, why couldn't they have done that with the Adidas Pro 4 as well? I'm not saying it's the truth. And that is what has happened. It's just a thought. There will probably be a part 5 when I know more. As I said in the little short video I made yesterday, there would be a part 3 of this series on the Adidas Pro 4. Here it comes. I now have some pictures in a slightly better quality, plus a little more knowledge. Again, is it important to say I don't know if the shoe is real? And please note the date this video was made. Some of my other videos I have received a comment 6 months after I made them. Example with Adidas Prime X2 Strung. I think most of us thought it was this edition that would be released, just like I talked about in part 2. It is easy to know half a year later what was right. But let's try to compare Pro 4 with Evo. I think it is better to compare these two shoes than the old Pro 3, which is almost 2 years old. Let's start with the heel counter of the shoes. Pay attention to the angle of the picture. We cannot count on the difference we see, as they can cheat extremely much. Again, depending on how the picture was taken. But we get the opportunity to compare them. Here are some of Adidas' other shoes. If anyone is wondering if these shoes are not used, they are only used on the treadmill. I have exactly the same shoes to use outside. You'll see what I mean in part 4. In part 4, I go into more detail about what is the most exciting visually about the shoe, its outsole. Plus maybe why this outsole from a fake Ultraboost 24 might also play a role. If anyone knows anything, please write it so that we can all become wiser. Just a small update to the video I made yesterday about the Pro 4. Now we have a picture of its outsole. I have to say, I don't know with 100% certainty if the pictures are real. But I think so. But just from experience I know that people will come after me if I show fake pictures. I'm only out to show the truth, but sometimes it can be hard to tell the difference between what's true and what's fake. When you only have so few pictures of the new shoes and often in poor quality. And when the running stores also start to have the shoes which do not turn out to be the right ones, then it is really difficult. Here I am thinking of the first Pro 4 we saw plus Prime X2 strung. I know of course that these shoes weren't exactly fake, but they weren't the right versions. Here you can see the outsole compared to the Pro 3. As with the rest of the shoe, there has really been a change. You always have to take pictures like this with a grain of salt, but it looks like it has become somewhat wider. Here you can see Adidas Pro development backwards. If you haven't seen the first video I made yesterday about the Pro 4, here it is. More pictures of the new Adidas Pro 4. Unfortunately, there is no picture of the outsole yet. At least not that I'm aware of. But it probably won't be long before we see it. Here is the first picture we saw. Or I should rather say probably the first image of the real Pro 4. Last year there was a model that reminded an awful lot of version 3. As you can see here, there is a big difference between the old version of Pro 4 compared to the new one. Will we see more pictures of this shoe soon too?